Hi software, welcome to your video on using and or, and I'm going to be very upfront in admitting this is mostly a video about and, but we'll talk about or too. This is an extension of using conditionals, and it's just a way to make what we call compound conditionals, meaning that the individual statement, the if or the else if or what have you, is looking for multiple things to be true or the possibility of multiple things being true in order to make a certain action happen. So by now you should be at the same starter code that you see on my page. Please make sure you're logged in, go to the top, file duplicate, and then make sure you save it. Remember that you can hit Control S when you are clicked into the code box or Command S if you are on a Mac in order to rapidly save. It'll tell you that your sketch is saved once you've hit those hotkeys, and you can go from there. As with all code videos, I recommend that you're able to see this video and my code as you are working. So split your screen, have one browser with the code in it and one browser with your YouTube video, and go from there. You guys know the drill by now. You can pause whenever you need to. You can rewatch. Make sure you are doing what you need to do in order to understand what's happening in this program. So I'm going to hit play just to show you what we got here. I have split the screen into some quadrants for us, and we're actually not really using these lines to change anything. Those are just to give you an idea of what I'm talking about, so I don't have to be super vague. So the way I would like this program to run is if my mouse is anywhere inside this box, then I want the background to change color. If my mouse is anywhere in this box, the background should be a different color, this box different color, this box different color, and then I want an else in there for if I'm like right in the exact middle 200, 200, like secret Easter egg color. So to do this, I am going to need a variable because we talked about in our last code along, anything that already lives on my canvas that I want to change or adjust, I need to use a variable to do that. So the background is something that lives on my canvas on line 6. It's already there. I'm not going to draw new backgrounds. I am just going to change the color of this one. So to make that happen, up at the top of my screen, I'm going to make a variable, and I'm going to call it BG color, standing for background. I'm abbreviating. And then, just like before, that is my declaration that I'm using this word. In setup, I'm going to say that BG color is a color, and that color can start at this boring gray. Like, it can start at 220. That's fine. I'm going to go plug in BG color, and it should stay gray. Like, it's pretty boring, but it stayed, you know, it's just doing its thing. And from here, I'm going to make BG color more interesting. So before I can even get into this, we need to just understand that we will be using and or. And I'm going to make a little note in my code that and in JavaScript is these two things called ampersands. Ampersands live above your 7 key, so you need to hold shift and hit that number 7 twice to get and. And or in JavaScript is these two parallel lines that live between your delete and your enter key on the right side of your keyboard. So if you hold shift and you hit that key that has a slash on it, not the question mark slash key we use for comments, but the one between delete or backspace and enter, that is the one that you want to use. Two of those, that's or. So in my conditional, which, spoiler alert, your challenge is going to be to finish this conditional, I want to start with just this box here. So in this top box, I want to change it to magenta, and anywhere else I want it to change to a different color. So, actually, you know what, let's start with the bottom box. I'm going to start with the bottom box. So I'm just going to say that my first code is for this bottom right box, and that is solely because I will know that it's changing. I don't want it to get confused and think I'm always up here, because when I hit play, my coordinates are very small. So I'm going to use this one, and I'm just going to move my mouse around and first figure out what I know about the X values, which again are the first number in the text that's displaying, and then what I know about the Y values, which is the second number that gets displayed. So I notice, as I move left to right, that in this box, it goes from 200 to 400. So pretty much any time my X value of my mouse is bigger than 200, I know I'm on the right side of the screen. And I'm just going to make a note. Mouse X bigger than 200, right side. And then if I move my mouse up and down, I see it's also like 200 to 400 for the Y value, which is our up and down axis. So I'm going to say mouse Y bigger than 200. That means I'm on the bottom. So in theory, if my mouse X position is bigger than 200 and my mouse Y position is bigger than 200, I would have to be in this bottom box. If it's any other combination, I must be in one of the other boxes. So I'm going to drop down and I'm going to start my conditional, and remember, you guys are just adding on to this conditional with different ifs and else ifs. Or sorry, different else ifs and an else. No more ifs, one if only. I'm going to start with my if, my parentheses, my curly braces. Y'all should know the drill by now. And then my condition that I'm going to set up is going to be that mouse X needs to be bigger than 200 and mouse Y needs to be bigger than 200. And if both of those two things are true, based on the coordinates I'm seeing, I must be in this bottom box. And if that happens, I want to change BG color to, let's say, magenta. And you guys are going to notice I almost always use magenta and cyan and yellow and like these really basic colors because I know them off the top of my head. I don't have to hunt for them. And I'm going to hit play. And I'm going to notice it starts gray. I'm going to go to the other boxes. Nothing happens. But look what happens when I go into this box. The whole background turns magenta. And if I hit play and start over, I can also go in from this side and it turns magenta. And right now it never turns back because I don't really have any options for it to do that. But the magenta only activates when I hit that box. And I can like even add a console.log just to remind me what this does. That this is bottom right. Whenever I hit there, I'm in the bottom right. So if I'm all over my canvas in these other boxes, nothing pops up in my console. As soon as I'm in here, it starts telling me I'm in the bottom right, and when I pop out, it'll stop printing that message for me. So your challenge, guys, is going to be to try and add an else if after that for each of these other boxes. So you'll need an else if for the top right, for the top left, and the bottom left. Each one gets its own else if. You'll need to figure out what combination of mouse X and mouse Y you would need, and then change it to another color. The colors you pick are completely up to you. Please also include an else for what happens if I'm in the exact middle if I manage to get my mouse at 200. Good luck, guys. I'm excited to see your colors.